I posted our engagement announcement at 7:18 p.m. By 7:24, a man I hadn't spoken to since childhood had commented underneath it and destroyed my entire life with one sentence. "That's my sister. She's already married." I remember the exact second Sarah saw it, because her face changed before I even understood what I was reading. One moment she was smiling across the restaurant table, her left hand still tilted so the diamond could catch the candlelight. The next, all the color drained out of her. "Give me that," she said, not confused, not offended, afraid. Before I could move, she grabbed my phone so fast her elbow hit her wine glass. Merlot spilled across the white tablecloth, spreading outward like something bleeding through fabric. Neither of us reached for a napkin. Sarah, what the hell, her fingers were already moving. Tapping, blocking, deleting. "Baby. It's nothing," she said, but her voice had gone sharp around the edges. Some creep trying to ruin our night, but I had already seen the name. Derek Morrison. I hadn't thought about Derek in 15 years. He'd lived next door to me in Minnesota before my family moved to Oregon. We played basketball in his driveway, built snow forts behind his garage. I'd been to his sister's birthday party when I was 10. His sister. The comment was gone, but the notification preview still burned in my head. "Dude, that's my sister Emily. She's already married. Call me ASAP." And underneath it, before Sarah blocked him, I'd seen 3 images loading. A wedding photo, a marriage certificate, a driver's license, all showing the woman sitting across from me. The woman I had proposed to 6 hours earlier. The woman whose name, apparently, wasn't Sarah at all. Let me back up. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 31, a software engineer in Portland, the kind of guy whose life was boring in a way I used to be grateful for. Same apartment, same running route, same Friday night takeout place. Nothing dramatic ever happened to me until Sarah Thompson walked into a coffee shop downtown and made normal feel like fate. She was sitting one table over, reading a beat-up copy of an obscure novel I had just finished. I made one stupid comment about the ending. She laughed like I had said something brilliant. 3 hours disappeared. She told me she was 29, a graphic designer, originally from California. She had moved to Portland after a bad breakup because she needed a fresh start. I believed every word. Sarah was warm in a way that felt effortless. She remembered tiny things: how I took my coffee, my mother's knee surgery, the name of a song I mentioned once while driving. She made me feel seen without making it feel like work. 8 months later, I asked her to move in. She showed up with 2 suitcases and a laptop. At the time, I thought it was charming. Minimalist, a woman who didn't need much because she knew who she was. Now I understand something colder. She traveled light because she was always ready to disappear. The red flags were there. They always are. I just didn't want to see them. No social media, no old friends, no childhood photos, no family stories that went deeper than it's complicated. Her life seemed to begin the day I met her, and I called that privacy instead of what it was. Sometimes her phone buzzed late at night. She would look down, silence it, and say, "Spam." But her jaw would tighten, her eyes would go distant, and for hours afterward, the woman beside me would feel like she was listening for footsteps behind her. The proposal happened at Cannon Beach, just before sunset. I had carried the ring in my jacket pocket for 3 weeks, waiting for the kind of moment people talk about later like it was planned by something bigger than them. The sky was turning orange behind Haystack Rock. The wind was cold enough to make Sarah tuck her hands into my coat sleeves, laughing. And I remember thinking there would never be a better second, so I got down on one knee. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then, she covered her mouth, started crying, and said yes before I could finish the sentence I had practiced in my head 100 times. I thought that was the happiest moment of my life. That sentence sounds stupid now. We took photos on the beach until our fingers went numb. On the drive back to Portland, she kept looking at the ring like she couldn't believe it was real. We talked about a small summer wedding, maybe a garden venue, maybe a honeymoon somewhere warm. Normal things, future things. We stopped at our favorite restaurant on the way home because neither of us wanted the night to end. While we waited for food, I posted one photo, Sarah smiling into my shoulder, the ocean behind us, the ring visible but not obnoxious. Caption: she said yes. For 6 minutes, my phone lit up with congratulations. College friends, coworkers, my sister, my mother, who immediately sent 11 heart emojis and asked if she could call. Then, Derek Morrison's name appeared. "Dude, that's my sister Emily. She's already married. Call me ASAP." 6 hours after the happiest moment of my life, everything fell apart. Sarah deleted the comment and handed my phone back like that solved anything. "There," she said, smiling too hard. "Problem solved." I looked at her across the table. "Sarah, I know Derek." Her smile didn't vanish, it froze. I told Sarah I needed to use the bathroom. She looked relieved, which told me more than I wanted to know. I locked myself in a stall, pulled out my phone, and tried to find Derek's comment again. Sarah had blocked him from my account, but I knew Facebook sometimes lagged between mobile and desktop. If the screenshots were still there, I needed to see them before she found a way to erase everything. Marcus. Sarah's voice came from outside the restroom door. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just a minute. I flushed a toilet I hadn't used, washed my hands, and looked at myself in the mirror. Please let this be a mistake. Please let me not be engaged to a stranger. We drove home in near silence. Sarah filled the car with wedding talk. Her voice too bright, too fast. Venues, guest lists, dresses. I answered with sounds instead of words. At home, I said I had work emails to check. She went to bed early. I waited until the bedroom door clicked shut. Then, I opened my laptop and found Derek's profile. The comment was still there. So were the images. I downloaded everything, emailed copies to myself, saved them to cloud storage, then took photos of the screen with my phone. Engineer instinct. Maybe. Or survival. First image: Sarah in a wedding dress beside a man I'd never seen. Caption: Emily and James, June 14, 2021. Second image: a Minnesota marriage certificate. Emily Marie Morrison married to James Patrick Chen. Third image: a driver's license. Same face. Same birthday. Sarah had told me on our third date, March 8, 1995. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the truth leaking through the lies. Then I found the Instagram account. Emily Chen, wife, dog mom, Minneapolis life. The profile picture was Sarah, sleeping in my bedroom. I messaged Derek with hands that felt strangely steady. I need to know everything. Is Sarah really your sister? His reply came back in less than a minute. Her name isn't Sarah. It's Emily. Emily Morrison. She's my sister. She's married to James Chen. What the hell is going on? I stared at the screen, then looked toward the bedroom door. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. She's in Portland with me, I wrote. She told me her name was Sarah Thompson. We've been together 10 months. I proposed today. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Jesus Christ. James has been looking for her for 8 months. She vanished last November. He filed a missing person report. We all thought something happened to her. My stomach went cold in a way I had never felt before. Not fear exactly. Something worse. The realization that my heartbreak was only one room in a much larger house. She's not missing, I typed. She's been living with me, Derek replied immediately. You need to call James, or the police. Someone needs to know she's alive. Does she know you saw my comment? I heard movement in the hallway. Bare feet on hardwood. I closed the laptop halfway, heart suddenly hammering. She knows. I typed quickly. I have to go. The bedroom door opened. Sarah stood there in pajamas, hair loose around her shoulders, watching me like she was trying to read a password off my face. Coming to bed? She asked. In a minute. Just finishing something? She didn't move. Marcus, yeah. I love you, she said quietly. Whatever happens, whatever anyone says, remember that I love you. Yesterday, that sentence would have broken me open. Now it sounded like a warning. I didn't sleep that night. At 6:12 in the morning, I called in sick to work and sat at the kitchen table with black coffee I never touched. Sarah watched me from across the room. Suspicious but careful. She said she had client calls all day. I nodded like I believed her. The second she left, I called Derek. Tell me everything, I said. He did. Emily Morrison married James Chen in June of 2021. They had been together since college. Everyone thought they were happy. James was an accountant in Minneapolis. Emily was a freelance graphic designer, which meant at least one part of Sarah's life had been real. Then, in November, Emily disappeared. She left a note, Derek said. Said she needed time to find herself. Took her car, some clothes, and $12,000 from their joint savings. James woke up and she was just gone. Police missing person report. But there was no sign of foul play. They said she left voluntarily, but they're still married. James never filed for divorce, Derek said. He kept hoping she'd come back. I asked for James's number. Derek went quiet. This is going to destroy him. He deserves to know she's alive. A minute later, the contact came through. James answered on the fourth ring. Hello. His voice sounded tired. Not sleepy, worn down. James. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm calling about your wife. The silence on the other end was so complete I thought the call had dropped. Then he whispered, You found her? Yes. She's in Portland. She's been living with me for 8 months under the name Sarah Thompson. I proposed to her yesterday. I heard one broken breath. She's alive, he said. Then, softer. She's alive. And she just left me there. James didn't yell at me. That almost made it worse. He just kept breathing into the phone like every answer was cutting him somewhere new. I told him Emily knew her cover was blown. I told him she might run. Then, I gave him my address and said the only thing I could think to say. Come to Portland. Bring a lawyer if you can. And don't call her. After we hung up, I stopped being her fiancé and started building a file. Not because I wanted revenge, because I needed proof that couldn't cry, manipulate, or explain itself away. I photographed everything I could legally access. The joint savings account we had opened 2 months earlier, the paperwork she had given the bank, the Oregon driver's license with the name Sarah Ann Thompson printed under her face, the social security card she had flashed so casually that day, like it was nothing. I sent copies to Patricia Okafor, a family law attorney a coworker recommended, after I gave him the cleanest version of the story I could manage. Patricia called me back within an hour. Marcus, she said, you are very lucky you found this before the wedding. That doesn't feel lucky. Legally. It is. You are not married to her. That means she can't tie you up in divorce court. But, if she used fake documents to open accounts, that is fraud. If she crossed state lines using false identification, this could become much bigger. I asked her what to do. Document everything. Do not threaten her. Do not touch her property. Do not confront her alone if you can avoid it. And move your money out of any account she can access. There was $8,000 of mine in that joint account. I transferred it out and left $1 behind, so the account stayed open as evidence. Then Patricia checked the license format through proper channels and called me back. It's not valid, she said. The number doesn't exist. I sat there staring at the fake card on my table. 6 months she had lived in my apartment, slept beside me, kissed me good morning, opened a bank account with a name that didn't exist. My next call was Detective Angela Morrison with Portland Fraud Division, no relation to Emily. 23 years on the force. Voice flat and professional. What you're describing is identity fraud at minimum, she said. And Minnesota needs to know their missing person is alive. She'll run. Then, we move carefully, Morrison said. And, fast, Sarah came home at 6:47 p.m. I know because I had been watching the clock for 3 hours, sitting at my kitchen table, with a folder of evidence on my laptop, and a glass of water I never drank. James was flying in the next morning. Detective Morrison had already coordinated with Minneapolis. Patricia was on standby. All I had to do was keep Emily from disappearing for one more night. Hey, baby, she said, stepping inside like nothing in the world had changed. She kissed my cheek. I didn't move. How was your sick day? Feeling better, much, good. She dropped her bag on the counter. I was thinking Thai food and a movie, something dumb, no wedding talk tonight. Actually, I said, I think we should talk. Her hand paused on the zipper of her bag. About what, your family? The smile stayed on her face, but her eyes changed. My family. I'm about to marry you? I said. And I don't know your parents' names. I don't know if you have siblings. I don't know anything real about where you came from. I told you, we're not close. Everyone has a story. Sarah. Why are you doing this? Because of Derek Morrison. The name hit the room like a glass breaking. Her face went pale. I told you, she said carefully. That was a misunderstanding. No, a misunderstanding is someone getting a name wrong. This is different. I turned my laptop toward her. The wedding photo filled the screen. Then the marriage certificate. Then the Minnesota driver's license. I watched her see herself. Not Sarah Thompson, Emily Marie Morrison. Her face changed 3 times in 2 seconds. Shock. Fear. Then something cold and calculating slid into place. Where did you get those? That's your question, Marcus. I can explain. Then explain why my fiancé is already married to a man named James Chen. She stood up too fast, chair scraping the floor. It wasn't like that. I left him. I had to. With fake IDs, you don't understand what he was like. I talked to James. Everything stopped. Her mouth opened, then closed. He's flying here tomorrow, I said. The police know too. You called him? Her voice rose. You brought him here. I told a man his missing wife is alive. She grabbed her bag. I'm not staying for this. If you run now, this stops being a private mess and becomes a multi-state fraud investigation. Her hand froze on the door. Then she turned. Eyes wet and furious. You're destroying my life. No. Emily, I said. You destroyed your own life. I'm just the one who figured it out. Emily didn't run. I still don't know if she stayed because she understood she was out of options, or because some part of her believed she could still talk her way through it. Maybe both. She slept in the guest room that night. I stayed on the couch with my phone in my hand, listening for the front door, every small sound in the apartment making my body tense. At 8:36 the next morning, James landed in Portland. I met him outside baggage claim. He was younger than I expected. 32, maybe 33, clean haircut, gray jacket, The kind of man you would trust to do your taxes correctly and apologize if he finished early. But his eyes looked ruined. Not sad. Ruined, like 8 months of not knowing whether his wife was dead had carved something permanent into him. "Marcus?" he asked. I nodded. For a second. Neither of us knew what to do. Shake hands, apologize, pretend this was normal. He solved it by saying, "Thank you for calling me. I'm sorry I had to. I'm sorry she did this to you too." That was when I knew we weren't enemies. We drove back mostly in silence. Detective Morrison was already waiting in the parking lot of my apartment building with another officer. She had spoken with Minneapolis. The missing person case would be closed. The fraud investigation was now real. "Is she inside?" Morrison asked. "She was an hour ago." "Then, let's not give her time to change that." Emily was sitting on my couch when we walked in. For 1 second, she looked only at me. Then she saw James behind me. Her face collapsed, not the way someone looks when they're sorry. The way someone looks when the wall finally reaches their back. "Emily," James said. His voice broke on her name. She stood, then sat back down like her legs had failed her. "James, 8 months, he said. "I spent 8 months wondering if you were dead. I'm sorry. You let me bury you in my head." She flinched. "You didn't just leave me," he said. "You erased me. You took our money, took your car, took your name, and started planning another wedding. It wasn't working," she whispered. "Then, you should have divorced me." Detective Morrison stepped forward. "Mrs. Chen, we need you to come with us." Emily looked at me one last time. "I did love you, Marcus. That part was real." "No," I said. "It wasn't. None of it was real. You're not even the person I thought I loved. I could have been Sarah forever. That's the problem, Emily." I looked at James, then back at her. "Sarah doesn't exist. The legal process took 6 months. 6 months of statements, paperwork, phone calls, meetings with Patricia, follow-ups with Detective Morrison, and learning words I never wanted, attached to my life. Identity fraud, financial fraud, theft, false documentation, interstate investigation. Emily Marie Morrison Chen had not just lied to me. That was the part her lawyer kept trying to soften. Like, this was a relationship that had gotten messy. Like, she was a confused woman who made desperate choices during a painful marriage. But the evidence did not care how sad her story sounded. She had used a fake Oregon driver's license under the name Sarah Ann Thompson. She had used a fake Social Security card to open a bank account with me. She had taken $12,000 from James before disappearing from Minnesota. And 3 days before Derek exposed her, she had transferred $3,200 from our joint account into another account I didn't know existed. That was the number that stayed with me. Not because it was the biggest. Because it proved she had already been preparing to leave, even before the comment, even before the engagement post, even before I knew. I sat in the courtroom beside James when she accepted the plea deal. 2 years in federal prison, 5 years of probation, full restitution to James, to me, and to the financial institutions she had defrauded. Her lawyer talked about trauma, about feeling trapped, about needing to escape a marriage that no longer felt safe emotionally. Emily sat at the defense table in a gray suit, hair pulled back, eyes lowered like she had finally learned what remorse was supposed to look like. The judge didn't buy it. "Mrs. Chen," he said, "you did not escape a marriage. You abandoned one. You did not start over. You manufactured a false identity and used it to defraud banks, deceive law enforcement, steal from your husband, and build a new life on another man's trust." Emily started crying then, quietly, almost politely. The judge continued, "A fresh start does not require destroying someone else's reality." When they put the cuffs on her, I expected to feel something dramatic. Relief, satisfaction, justice. I felt none of that. I just felt tired. James leaned toward me as they led her away. "Feel any better?" he asked. I watched Emily disappear through the side door. "Not really." He nodded. "Me neither. But at least the lying was finally over." James filed for divorce the next morning. He told me afterward that signing those papers felt less like ending a marriage and more like admitting the marriage had ended long before he knew it. Emily had left in November. The court just made the truth official. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. No drawn-out fight, no dramatic courtroom scene. She was already dealing with federal charges, restitution, probation planning, and the kind of consequences she could no longer rename or run from. James and I walked out of the courthouse together after her sentencing, and neither of us said much. People expect justice to feel clean. It doesn't. It feels like standing in the wreckage after the fire is out, realizing you still have to decide what to keep and what to throw away. For me, that meant leaving Portland. Not immediately. I tried to stay for a while. I tried to keep going to the same grocery store, sleeping in the same bedroom, walking past the same coffee shop where I had first met Sarah Thompson, but Sarah had never existed, and Emily had left fingerprints on everything. So I took a job in Seattle 6 months later. Same field, better pay, smaller apartment, more rain than any reasonable person should tolerate, but it was mine. My name was on the lease, my real name, my real history. Nothing hidden, nothing invented. That mattered more than I expected. I still think about Emily sometimes. Not with love. Not anymore. More like thinking about an accident you survived. You don't miss the crash, but you remember the sound of metal bending. I wonder what made her believe a lie could become real if she performed it long enough. I wonder if she ever loved anyone. Or if she only loved the version of herself she saw reflected back. She has never contacted me. I hope she never does. I started dating again eventually. Slowly. Carefully. I ask more questions now. I pay attention when stories have missing pieces. Some women think I'm guarded. Maybe I am. I don't apologize for that. James remarried last spring. He sent me a photo after the ceremony. Him in a navy suit, smiling beside a woman with kind eyes and a name that was actually hers. His message said, "Thank you for telling me the truth. You gave me my life back." I read it twice. Then I put the phone down and cried for the first time. People ask me sometimes if I hate her. I don't know how to answer that. Hate feels too simple for what Emily did. Hate would mean there was one clean feeling left after all of it. One straight line from injury to anger. But betrayal like that doesn't work in straight lines. It moves through everything. Your memories, your instincts, your ability to believe a person when they tell you something ordinary. Their name, where they're from, who they used to be. For a long time, I didn't trust anyone who entered my life too easily. If a woman remembered too much too quickly, I noticed. If she avoided one question, I noticed. If her past had blank spaces, I noticed those too. Maybe that sounds paranoid. Maybe it is. But once you have loved someone who turned out to be a carefully maintained fiction, caution stops feeling like fear. It starts feeling like survival. I don't know why Emily chose what she chose. I don't know why she thought disappearing was easier than divorce. Or why she believed she had the right to build a new life using a stolen name and other people's trust as the foundation. I'll probably never know. What I do know is that truth matters. Even when it destroys the room it enters. Telling James the truth was the hardest decent thing I have ever done. It cost me the woman I thought I loved. It ended the future I had spent months imagining. It turned my engagement into evidence. But it gave a man his life back, and maybe that is the part I hold on to now. Not revenge, not punishment, not the court sentence, just the fact that when I found the truth, I didn't bury it to protect myself from the pain. I gave it to the person who deserved it most. That's all. Sometimes that's enough. If this story kept you watching, consider subscribing for more emotional Reddit-style family drama stories.